Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're a party and this is a government that's dealing with some pretty big decisions. But we're a party and a government that does take big decisions. And you know, we're a party and a government that is doing things that others have run away from for decades. And as Transport Secretary, I am really proud to be part of a government who, after 50 years of delay, finally got a parliamentary majority on both sides of the House in favour of expanding Heathrow Airport. It's a no-brainer, really. Our flagship airport's full. There are airlines queuing up to fly from it. There are cities all around the United Kingdom which need to be better connected to the outside world. And of course, we've got some great airport success stories. Manchester, Belfast, Leeds Bradford, Newcastle, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Cardiff, and of course just down the road here in Birmingham. But we really do need a strong hub airport to succeed. And the vote in Parliament, with a majority of nearly 300, has set us on the path to delivering that expanded Heathrow. But beyond Heathrow, it's not just about expanding Heathrow, we've also given our regional airports freedom to expand as well. And so we've got some great regional airports, and today I can announce our recommitment to one of those airports, Newquay. Those of you who live down there know how important it is to the economy of the South West, and we in government provide support to the crucial air links to London. And I can say today, we are going to be renewing that support for another 4 years, and with the jets that our fantastic team of Cornish MPs have been calling for. It's the right thing for Cornwall and the South West. And while we're on the subject of teams, let me say a word of thanks to mine, sitting down in the front row. My ministers, Jo Johnson, Liz Sugg, Jessie Norman, and I think a particular pat on the back for the first female Muslim government minister in the Commons, Nuz Ghani. And we've got two great PPSs, James Heapy and Bim Afolami, a great Commons whip, Michelle Donnellan. We've also got a new guy in the Lords, a fresh new young whip, someone you might have heard of, Lord Young, or Sir George Young, as he was when he was Transport Secretary. A great addition to the team and a great team player. And I'd also like to say a big word of thanks to Stephen Metcalfe for the fantastic work he's doing as Government Envoy for the Year of Engineering. Thank you to all of you. Of course, it hasn't always been an easy year for aviation. When I stood in front of you just a year ago, I had come back from Manchester Airport, where I'd met the first flight bringing passengers back after the collapse of Monarch Airlines. In the following days, we brought back nearly 100,000 people. And when I say we, it was a huge team effort involving other UK airlines, the Civil Aviation Authority, and 10 government departments. Everyone working together to get people home, and I'm proud of that swift response. It was a tribute to what this country can do in times of change. You know, the loss of Monarch was a sad day, but our aviation sectors continue to thrive. The Monarch planes are now flying again under different colours. The slots at the airports were snapped up quickly, and our successful aviation industry moved on to meet new challenges. I'm proud to live in a country where our industries and our businesses instinctively know how to adapt and grow following changes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what will happen to this country after Brexit, regardless of the outcome of the negotiations. And just a word to those who say Brexit will mean the planes stop flying. They are doomsayers who do not know what they are talking about. So, ladies and gentlemen, whilst our aviation sectors had a strong year, the same cannot be said of our railways. I have already apologised for the disruption caused by the failures in the introduction of the new timetable in May. It was unacceptable, and I want to say again how sorry I am that so many passengers had such a difficult time. For us as Conservatives, it was particularly frustrating. because the new timetable is actually part of a big investment programme in the railways to deliver more trains and more seats for passengers in both the north and the south. The chaos cannot and will not be allowed to happen again. But it's also clear that the system has greater challenges than just a failed timetable introduction. In the past 20 years, the railways have been going through an extraordinary period of growth. The number of passengers, the number of trains on the railways have doubled. The trains are packed, the network's creaking, passengers experience too many things going wrong. And we need to look after them when that happens, which is why today I can announce we're going to take a further step forward on compensation and introduce one-click compensation for delays and disruption, making it easier for people to claim compensation when they deserve to receive it. But we've got to make sure the railways work better for customers. And as I say, it's frustrating for us because as Conservatives in government, we're spending more on rail than any government in modern times. New trains all over the country, upgraded tracks, new routes across the north and the south and the Midlands, and indeed, actually, after a decade under Labour, when things stood still, leaving us much ground to catch up. Do you know, we hear about the north from them. They let a Northern Rail franchise with absolutely no investment in it at all. That's Labour and the north. What do? We let a Northern Rail franchise, which is replacing and refurbishing every single train across the whole of the north of England. That's what Conservatives deliver in government. Labour fail, Conservatives deliver. But I think we all know, and I certainly know, the industry is not making the best of that investment. It is clear that the way our railways are run no longer works when the system is under pressure. Now, last year I said to you we'd started a process of evolution towards a more joined-up railway, with single teams running the track and the trains. But the conclusion I've reached in the last few weeks is that evolution is no longer enough. We need revolution, we need big change. And that is why 2 weeks ago, I announced an urgent review of the way our railways work and how we move forward with the necessary reforms, led by the former Chief Executive of British Airways, Keith Williams. We do need that wholesale change. I've asked Keith to set out the best way of delivering just that, and to do so quickly. We'll publish a white paper on delivering a rail revolution for Britain next year, and we will then begin work immediately to deliver a more passenger-focused and reliable railway. But I'm also going to disappoint our opponents, because it's not going to stop us from investing in our railways. We're not going to pause. We're not going to hold back on that investment programme. And in fact, here in Birmingham, just a couple of days ago, Andy Street and I were unveiling designs and plans for the expansion of this city's rail network by reopening one of the lines that was lost by British Rail more than 50 years ago. And it's worth saying that partnership is what can be achieved when there is a strong relationship between a fantastic Metro Mayor and a Secretary of State. Andy's actually doing a fantastic job for Birmingham. It's great to work alongside him. And actually yesterday we did another visit together, down to see the first piece of construction on the site of the new HS2 station. The work on HS2 has already begun. It's already helping regenerate part of Birmingham. It's already employing 6,000 people. And when it's finished, HS2 will ease pressure on our overcrowded rail network. It will help us tackle that rail challenge. But you know, it wasn't actually rail that put Birmingham on the transport map. This is one of the great centres of our automotive industry. And whilst there's an awful lot of talk about trains and planes, actually it's what happens on our roads that will make the biggest difference to all of you. I know that most people depend on a good road system in their daily lives. And we have to help improve that system. Demand for road transport's grown enormously. There are more and more cars and lorries on our roads. More and more people who depend on our roads for their livelihoods. So we've launched the biggest roads upgrade programme for decades, investing every single penny you pay in car tax back into improving the roads you drive on. We're expanding capacity on the motorways with a smart motorways programme that's adding space for motorists from Portsmouth to Oldham. It means an extra lane and less congestion for you. We've just opened the last leg of Motorway Road Road from London to Newcastle. Heaven alone knows why it didn't happen years ago, and it certainly didn't happen while Labour were in power. Again, they accuse us of doing nothing for the North. They were the ones who neglected the North for so long, leaving us to play catch-up today. And the same is true, not just in the North, but across the whole country, where Labour did nothing. We're doing plenty. We're moving ahead with dualling the A303, providing crucial improvements for the southwest. We're upgrading the A14 through East Anglia. We're starting work on a new crossing to ease the pressures on the M25 at Dartford. But you know and I know, it's not just motorways and the big A roads that need investment. So we're also now moving ahead with plans to upgrade what we call the major road network, the next tier down of roads, which plays such an important part in good regional connections. And today, I'm able to announce the details of the first 5 schemes in that programme, which will now start in development. A new section of the York Outer Ring Road, modernising Gallows Corner in East London, the infamous farmyard bottleneck, literally the main road through a farmyard, Grisbeck Bypass near Barrow-in-Furness, the A614 near Ollerton in Nottinghamshire, and we're going to be building new slip roads in Thurrock. And we're now going to set about the work with those local authorities to move ahead with those schemes and deliver further details of what we're going to be doing in the spring. But I think you also know there's another problem on our roads. I'm acutely aware that we have problems with the condition of our roads in many areas. Potholes are a blight on every motorist, and too many are caused by poor road repairs. Now, in government, we're already spending record amounts helping fix potholes. But I intend to move ahead with further measures this autumn to tackle this blight of poor repairs and potholes and continuous damage on our roads. We have got to deal with this issue, and we've got to deal with it properly, and we've got to improve things for motorists. But it's also not just about building and maintaining roads. There's a revolution coming in the way we use those roads. Low-emission cars, driverless vehicles, smart data that improves the way we plan journeys. 3 weeks ago, in this very conference centre, we held the first international zero-emission vehicle summit, attracting visitors from around the world, as well as great UK innovators. Making the transition to a new generation of ultra-low and zero-emission vehicles is one of the most important challenges of our time. We have to face up to the challenge of climate change, particularly when road transport is one of the biggest contributors to it. We've got to improve air quality in our cities. The health of our citizens depends upon it. That's why we're committed to ending the sale of new diesel and petrol cars by 2040, and to make rapid progress towards greener vehicles now. But there's one thing I also want to be clear about, particularly here in the West Midlands. Newer diesel cars today are cleaner than ever before, and of course, there will be a role for diesel for many years to come as new technology evolves. But actually, if you're a motorist driving just in and around our major towns and cities, you're much better off today looking to an electric or ultra-low emission vehicle to become the obvious choice for you. And thanks to what we're doing, thanks to the work of this Conservative government, motorists are already buying in to that need for change. Do you know in August, 1 in 12 of the new cars sold in this country were ultra-low emission vehicles, and that number is going to rise and rise. And we will continue to do everything we can to support that transition, supporting research into new battery technology at the Faraday Centre, incentivising buyers of low-emission vehicles, cars, buses and vans. All of this is one of the great challenges for our generation, and it's one we will make sure that we meet. But it's more than an electric revolution. We're now rapidly approaching the era of the driverless car. Well, I expect all of you know from your own cars, every new model launched today seems to do more and more for itself. I expect the first truly driverless car to be on our roads within 3 or 4 years. And it is going to transform people's lives, particularly the elderly and the disabled, for whom there'll suddenly be far more opportunities to be mobile. It'll change the way we use cars in our big towns and cities. And the technology will also play a part in helping deliver much better public transport. But I don't need to say this to a room of Conservatives. It's not just about our cities. I'm only too well aware of the need to improve public transport in our rural areas and smaller towns. And we're already seeing some exciting new developments, signs of change that can actually help us meet that very real challenge. New bus services, for example, starting that respond just to a click on your mobile phone. They don't just follow a set route, they are flexible to meet the needs of local communities. And of course, new types of vehicle will help. Those autonomous vehicles, large and small, like the driverless pods being developed by the great firm Westfield here in the West Midlands. This is a revolution that is truly going to transform lives and transform the way that we travel around our towns, our cities, and our countrysides. And ladies and gentlemen, we are a government that will drive real change for the travelling public, and also not forgetting those who ship freight around the country. We're going to deliver more capacity, greener journeys, smart use of technology. We're going to support our flourishing shipping industry and ports. We're going to spend money supporting new cycle routes in our cities. We're doing all of that already. And above all, what we're doing is we are investing in transport in a way that Labour never did. It's always the same, they always promise the earth. They're doing it again now, they did it last week in Liverpool. But in government, they deliver very little. Conservatives are not like that. The transport investments we're making will be essential to our country in the post-Brexit world. If we are to be a dynamic entrepreneurial country, if we're to be a truly global Britain, we need the roads, the railways, the ports, and the airports to support that. There's much to do. There are problems to solve, but we will deliver for Britain. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me say a word about Brexit. You know that I was the first cabinet minister to declare publicly for Brexit. I believe passionately that Britain is doing the right thing. I've represented Britain on different European councils for the past 8 years. I've seen the workings of the EU and what it needs to do to secure its future. But I believe that the EU's needs are not Britain's needs. I believe we're better outside, as good friends and neighbours, not part of the march towards a federal Europe. So no one should doubt my Brexit credentials. We are doing the right thing. But so is our Prime Minister. I want us to make sure we get out. I want us to be in charge of our own destiny. But I also want what I think is right for the country, which is a partnership in trade, security, and research. It makes sense for all of us. I hope and believe we can agree that partnership. And yes, we are making preparations in case we cannot. We're planning for all eventualities right across our transport system, and we have been for months and months and months. I know that under Theresa May, this country will not accept a deal that's bad for Britain, or one that is bad for the Union, that is the United Kingdom. We know that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is why I am backing, that is why we should all back our Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, it's almost 100 years since the first Labour government. You know, we know, they have always taken Britain backwards. They've always cost people jobs. They sit on the sidelines promising everyone everything, and then they leave most people worse off in the end. And they have never been so extreme and dangerous as they are today. We cannot allow the election of the most extreme Labour government this country has ever seen. So we have to stick together. We have to unite to deliver Brexit. And then we have to take the battle to a group of Marxists who would wreck this country for decades. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a historic task, but it is one where we absolutely must succeed. Thank you.